Junkies.
What's going on, golf addicts? We're the Tour Junkies. This is the Tour Junkies Golf Show on the Better Sports Network. DB, Pat, we're together. We're in person. We're not divided by virtual screens and such. I'm in Savannah.
We can actually touch each other.
We could, yes. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. We're getting ready to go down to Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, for the TPC week, the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass. It's going to be a great week. It's one of our favorite weeks of the year. One of the best fields, best golf courses of the year. Famous 17th hole, Pete Dye design course. We're very familiar with it. Played the course, been here a bunch. We're going to dive into TPC Sawgrass and all the things you need to know. We've also got special guest Joe Idone on the show tonight. He'll host the Preferred Lines podcast, contributor at Tour Junkies. We love Joe. He's going to be on at the end, giving us some picks, giving us some insight. He's a really good head-to-head bettor, so stay tuned for that. Before we get into it, though, I got to talk a little bit of recap on the Arnold Palmer because my boy,
oh, Kitty.
Kurt Kittyama wins the Arnold Palmer Invitational at like 250 to 1, 200 to 1. I've been banging the Kittyama drum, banging it all year, all season, and he finally hits. Pat, I feel like you kind of doubted Kittyama.
I did. I more just didn't like you saying kitty all the time. Just the kitty. That whole thing really bothered me.
Why?
But,
you even have a cat.
I know, and I don't use that word. I don't say that. But I mean, look, you have been pounding the drum, and he hit. He finally did. And I mean, played fantastic, even though he had a triple. I mean, hits it out of bounds. I mean, this was it was a struggle for him, but so was it for everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan's right there, missing short putts left and right. Rory's right there with a chance. Scotty Scheffler. I mean, Kittyama knocked down some pretty big-time names to get the win, and proud of him. Good for him.
It's another designated event, elevated field, probably the strongest field Bay Hill's ever seen. Bay Hill, a place where Big Cat Tiger absolutely dominated in his career. For Kittyama to get his first PGA Tour victory at Arnie's place at Bay Hill in those conditions, firm greens, firm golf course, big numbers everywhere, best names in the world breathing down your neck, shows exactly what I've been talking about, that this guy is the real deal. I mean, he's a compact little sucker. They talk about he's like they call him the quad father or something on tour. He's got these big old, just thighs, and he just uses the ground and he hits the piss out of it. He's 180 mile an hour ball speed, great long iron play, and just steady. And I do think it's not talked about enough, but having an experienced caddy on the bag like Tim Tucker, who used to caddy for Bryson DeChambeau, having him on the bag, I think says, it's helping Kittyama a lot.
Absolutely.
So gone are probably the days of Kurt Kittyama, at least in the near future, at 200 to 1. But I am glad to see him play well, and glad that a lot of Tour Junkies listeners and followers hit Kurt Kittyama best last week, 200 to 1.
Yeah, good thing they just kept the faith in him too.
They did, they did. Also at the API, we also saw something crazy I didn't think we'd see. We saw Jon Rahm look human. I think it was round 2 and round 3, back-to-back rounds of 76. The first time he's done that since 2018 U.S. Open. And then I think on Sunday, he shot like one over or even. I mean, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but still.
But on Thursday, we didn't even talk about this. Thursday, he looked like he was playing a different golf course. He shot 7 under. He was your solo first round leader, and we're just eye rolling, and everybody's like, "Oh, here comes okay, Jon Rahm's going to win his 4th event of 2023," and then goes from shooting 7 under to 4 over. Just overnight. What do we think about Jon Rahm, and does it concern you leading up to the Players?
No concern whatsoever. I mean, here's the thing. This is just another example of how variable golf is from a week in and week out basis. Jon Rahm is the best player in the world right now. He's been doing it. He's had 4 or 5 wins in his last 11 or 12 events. The guy's been on fire, but every so often, it's just going to happen. You're not going to have a good round, okay? You're not going to have a good round. You're not going to have a good week. Who knows? Maybe the strokes gained home life was off a little bit. Maybe some things, maybe he had some bad sushi. I don't know. Things happen. He had a bad week. It does not concern me. If I'm playing DFS and I'm getting a lesser owned Jon Rahm this week because of that, I am going to just eat that all up. I don't think it's going to be that much less owned, but I do think there's a chance that people are going to kind of jump off of Jon Rahm. I would not get too concerned about it. Still the best player in the world.
And I mean, what's going to happen too, inevitably, is all the DFS people are going to say Jon Rahm's going to be overlooked because people are going to talk about, and then everybody's going to be playing him thinking that he's overlooked, and then he's not. But it was interesting to see a little chink in the armor. I agree. It's no time to panic. It happens to every golfer, whether you're an amateur, whether you're a 20 handicap or a 5 handicap.
I mean, we love to see it, though. All we've been talking about on this show is how we're tired of Jon Rahm winning. So, I mean, we're fine with it.
We do love to see it. It was good to see him look human. I mean, heck, and you and I played a few rounds of golf together this week, and it happens to us too. We have a good day. I had a great day on Thursday. I thought I can't miss with the driver. I can hit it wherever I want. And then yesterday, it was left, right. It was everywhere. So it can happen. Yeah, it can happen.
You're comparing yourself to Jon Rahm. I like that.
Yeah,
I like.
Well, I mean, if I can find a way to do that, I will.
Okay.
We also learned this week that, speaking of Tiger, no Tiger at TPC Sawgrass. Tiger won't be there, but will be there. Like I've already mentioned, opening the show, we're going to be media credentialed at the Players Championship as we've done for the last few years. I'm going to be there tomorrow early, sitting in on some press conferences. Going to talk about a hot topic there at the press conference here in just a second. But we're going to be walking the grounds. We're going to walk with some of our favorite player buddies that we have, some caddies, talk to some coaches that we know, people on the ground, obviously analyzing the golf course, taking a look at, noticing some things, who's a stripe show, who's not, who's maybe, spending extra time in the physio room working on a neck or something. We're going to have all that. We're going to make an appearance on the Moose and Keith show on Wednesday, live from Sawgrass here on the Better Sports Network. And obviously, all of our content will be littered with what we learned from on site at Sawgrass. You can find all that Tour Junkies YouTube page, podcast feed, tourjunkies.com, and our Discord server as well. But we'll be on the ground gathering all the information. Is there anything? I mean, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is there anything that you especially? We've done this a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. Anything especially that you look forward to seeing or doing or getting done there at Sawgrass?
No, I mean, when you go to this course, you want to look at and see if there's been any major changes. Are they growing the rough up? Are they doing anything? I don't think they will, though. This is a course that really speaks for itself. The course is the show, okay? And so they don't mess it up. They don't trick it up too much. It typically is they just let it play the way it's going to play. But I'll be interested to see, Jon Rahm. We just talked about him. I'll be interested to see how he's hitting the ball. There's, we've seen some injuries like Hideki, Fitzpatrick. We just, and it's their injuries are like mysteries. We don't really know for sure. So I'd like to see maybe how they're hitting the ball and just, talk to folks on the ground and see what's going on. So this is actually I skipped last year. Oh, yeah. So I'm really excited. Yeah. This is the first time in 2 years for me. So
I was riding solo. Do you remember that? Some of the big news coming out on the PGA Tour is the schedule changes for 2024. Commissioner Jay Monahan will be in front of the microphone, in front of the press for his annual kind of State of the Union address at the Players at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I hope to be in the room when that happens. I hope I can get in there. It's usually pretty jam-packed, but I'm sure he's going to be fielding a lot of questions about the schedule changes. And some of the details of that are to be determined, and some of the details we know, but it's too much to get into here on the show. But basically, the tour announced last week that there's going to be 8 of the designated events will be no cut, 4-round between 70 and 78 player fields, where there's qualification standards and there's ways you can get in. I think there's 18 available spots, somewhere around 18 available spots that you can qualify in, on top of finishing in the top 50 in the FedEx final standings from the previous year. If you finish in the top 50 in the FedEx Cup final standings the previous year, you are automatically in all of those events, and the other spots are kind of up for grabs through different qualifications. So initial thoughts and blowback, there was a bunch of it on Twitter. A bunch of people, including us, kind of freaked out. Was like, this is terrible. This sucks. But I at least have since, I think maybe you have to kind of come around on the reason for some of the changes. Any just big picture thoughts on those changes and something that people should know?
Well, I mean, the obvious big picture thought is the fact that these changes have been brought out by LIV. So LIV Golf is obviously affecting some of the things that the PGA Tour are doing. We saw this already with the elevated events, and now we got some no-cut events. I'll be interested to see, though, how Monahan frames a lot of this up, and because I'm sure he doesn't want to give Liv too much credit, right?
Yeah.
But so I think he's going to try and, talk about these changes, but give us maybe a little more forward-looking view of what the tour might be looking at even further down the road, as opposed to just the changes that we're hearing about right now. So I think it'll be interesting. He'll have a lot to say. That's going to be a long press conference, I think. They might have to cut everybody off. And if I remember, that's a pretty small room, too. You might be standing outside.
It's usually standing room only with Commissioner Monahan in the room. But I think he's going to have to answer a lot of questions about the no-cut thing. Even with a small, limited field, you can still have some sort of a cut. And I've seen a lot of stuff going back and forth on Twitter. I think you're going to have I think he's going to have to answer that. And I don't even know that however he's going to answer it is going to satisfy a lot of people.
And then he's going to probably answer questions about, what happens to the lower tier tour player?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's going to happen with these guys that can't get into these events? What is their path to success? I think there's a lot of players that are wondering that. Now, we've heard a podcast or two that, have had some players on there, and some seem to be actually okay with it. But I'll be interested to see, what is he going to say? What changes might be, in order for some of the lesser players on tour. But they're going to, they've got to cater to their stars. And their stars want to make money. And that's just what it is. Yeah,
it's tough to satisfy the stars, the sponsors, and the fans all at the same time. I'm sure they're doing their best. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about TPC Sawgrass. I've got a thorough Just the Tip for you. It's a big tip with a lot of juicy details. We're going to talk sleepers. We're going to talk DFS cash lineups. We're going to have Joe Idone on the Better Sports Network. Tour Junkies Golf Show coming right back.
Making you money in daily fantasy sports and golf betting. Tee off with the Tour Junkies on Better Sports Network. Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Vladdy swings at the first pitch and lines it into right center.
How did a guy who was being selected in the first round pretty well everywhere last year, he proceeded to lose 33 runs, to lose 16 homers, to lose 14 RBIs, and to lose 37 points in batting average. Oh, and 184 points in OPS. He went down everywhere. How does that guy, Vlad Jr., still register as the #1 fantasy first baseman? Ahead of Paul Goldschmidt, who won the MVP last season. Ahead of Mr. Freddie Freeman, who does the same thing every year, which is hit .315 with 25 homers and 100 ribbies. Ray, it's like Vlad Guerrero Jr. had nothing to worry about. It's like they thought they were getting him and his dad, as you can see there on the photo. You get both of them when you draft him at #1. I'm just surprised, and it was not a bad season, but Ray, it was such a disappointment compared to what he posted in 2000.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair to say. Vladimir Guerrero, in 3 of the 4 years, he's been average to good. He had one spectacular season. And we keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. The positives are the lineage, the positives are the skill set, the positives are the StatCast data, which everything's like top 5% murders the baseball. The negatives are he has not hit 275 in 3 or 4 years. We keep talking about this too. He does not hit the ball in the air. It's remarkable, his ability to hit 30-plus home runs, given that he never gets the ball in the air. His ground ball rate last year was 52%.
Well, and we're asking the question, how is he still #1 at first? But what catches me even more so, Ray, is the overall. I mean, he's a first-round pick overall, and I don't think he has any business in the first round. I look at his profile, and there are so many guys going behind Vlad that just have business in the first round that deserve to be there. Freeman, Machado, Bichette, Rafael Devers, I think maybe Pete Alonso. You put Austin Riley ahead of him. If he gets 310, 30, 190, he's a first rounder.
I think the play with Vlad is the batting average because he hits the ball monstrously hard. I could see him hitting 320.
Can you hit 320 with a 52% ground ball rate?
You can, but it helps if you're athletic and fast. And he's
yeah, exactly. And I get it. His hit tool's strong, Ray, and he's good. It's funny his ground ball percentage is that high because on the occasions when I get to watch Blue Jays baseball, I don't see it. I see him hit the ball. And it's not really grounders. I'm surprised the number is that high, it feels like he stings the baseball, but I guess there's just no lift overall in his game.
It's just a little tweak to his swing that could really lead to that growth back toward where he was in the home run column. And I think people, he's done it. This is not hypothetical. He did it 2 years ago, and he's still just 23.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team where you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network. Now back to Tour Junkies on Better Sports Network.
We're getting you ready for the upcoming baseball season with the Better Baseball preview, from fantasy baseball to MLB betting and the newest baseball cards for 2023. I love baseball cards. You can access our exclusive content for free right now at bettersports.com, featuring some of the best baseball minds in the industry like Adam Ronis, Ray Flowers, Kyle Elfrink, and Cody Decker. Get player profiles, prop bets, and futures, sleepers and busts, fantasy draft strategies, collectibles, and more at no cost. Please register with your name and email at bettersports.com right now and get instant access plus notifications when new features are released. Go to bettersports.com and sign up for the Better Baseball preview. Baseball season is here, Pat. It's here. It's here. I don't watch a lot of baseball. I used to. Love the Braves back in the 90s, but
that's all you got to do is just read that. It's easy.
Yeah, you just read it. What did you think?
Don't memorize the whole thing?
No, what you thought I memorized that?
No, I didn't really. But that was easy though. Maybe I should try it one time.
Yeah, we should have Pat do that sometimes. That would be good. Listen, we talked about some of the upcoming news on the PGA Tour. Don't have a lot of time to get into all that, but in the first segment, talking through the schedule changes, all that kind of stuff. Talked a little bit about our week at Sawgrass and things you got to know about TPC Sawgrass and the Players Championship. First of all, let's cover some basics. It's the PGA Tour's flagship event. If you're new to golf or new to golf betting, you may not know this, but a lot of people think that the majors like the Masters and the PGA Championship and the US Open, the Open, all are the PGA Tour, but they're actually not. None of the majors have really any firm affiliation with the PGA Tour. So this is the PGA Tour's #1 flagship event. This is at their headquarters, at the home of the PGA Tour in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, right outside of Jacksonville. It's their prized pig.
It is.
They put the course on. They shut it down well in advance. The course is in pristine condition. There's not a brown spot on the whole damn golf course. It's just a picturesque place to be, right? And they want to produce the perfect champion. They want the winner to be a PGA Tour dyed-in-the-wool golden boy. And what's interesting is the defending champion from last year is not going to be here. Why not?
Well, he said he might just be there as a spectator, so you never know, which would be awesome. If Cam Smith shows up as a spectator, I want to be hanging out with him at least for a little while, but he's probably going to have a big following.
It would be the most. So Cam Smith is your defending champion, Australian and local resident, still lives and resides in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. He won last year, and everybody loved it. The PGA Tour loved it. And then he went to LIV, also right after he won the Open Championship at St. Andrews. But in a recent interview, he said that since he wasn't invited back to play this week, he might end up just showing up and watching a little bit of golf and hanging out, which would be really hilarious.
Yeah. Do you think he'll get credentialed?
No.
Just have to get a normal
Do you think, are we going to find like pictures of Cam scattered around the innards of the media center or the PGA Tour to say like, don't allow this person in?
Yeah,
like, if you see this person.
We should look out for that.
No. Anyway, past champions include Cam Smith, Justin Thomas won here the year before that, Rory Webb-Simpson. Siwoo Kim was a long shot. We love Siwoo. He won at like 400 or 500 to 1 back in 2017. Jason Day, Ricky Fowler, Tigers won here. It's really the who's who. It's usually another one of these events where, a favorite to kind of a mid-range guy is going to come up and win. The golf course is pretty challenging. Winning score somewhere in the 10 to 15, 16 under range. Last year was wild with the weather. There was terrible weather. It gave one wave on the Thursday, Friday, a big advantage, and really screwed a lot of other people. What else? We both played this course. We've handicapped it now for a while.
Yeah.
What are some other like key stats or kind of trends or things that people need to be aware of?
Well, I mean, luckily we are not going to have to deal with the weather from what we're seeing right now. It looks like the weather's going to be pretty good. So pretty excited about that. Look, this is a course that's really going to challenge all parts of their game. And that's what you want in a big course like this for a big championship. So you got to be great on approach. All right. You got to be good scrambling. I think you got to hit the fairways. I mean, if you miss fairways here, it's not going to be necessarily that penal, but you're not going to give yourself a good opportunity to hit these greens in the right spots where you really have to be careful. So, and there's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of trouble on these holes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of water off the tee, things like that. You've got some weird sight lines that can make things tough. And look, but there's also some holes that you can score on.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the stretch of, well, really 16 is a scoreable par 5 right before you get to 17, which is the island hole. Everybody loves the island hole. It's only like a 135-yard shot. Sometimes they may back it up a little bit, but
tough.
It plays tough, and it gets in these guys' heads, especially if the wind is swirling in there. But it's just your basic, great, major type golf course. The greens are going to be quick. They're going to be running, and everything's overseeded, which is one reason it's so green.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're going to overseed everything, but the greens are going to be really quick. So you got to putt well. What else? I think.
I mean, like some of the I know Webb Simpson's famous for saying like he thinks Sawgrass is a golf course that a lot of different types of players could win. That's why you have like Matt Kuchar's and Webb Simpson winners, and even Siwoo's isn't really super long off the tee. You have bombers, you have guys who aren't really bombers, you have guys with really gritty and greasy short games like Cam Smith. So you do have to kind of be informed. This is not one of those places where if you come in here struggling, it's really easy to find it. That doesn't typically happen at Sawgrass. And also it usually demands that players have some experience around here, have some laps around Sawgrass, because mainly what Pete Dye does visually, like having some experience around here and understanding, okay, from the tee, my sight line, I can go here and there's more room than it appears, or this spot over here is actually way worse to be in than it may appear at first. It's kind of tricky.
It's not tricked up though, where like there's a tree in the middle of something you got to hit. It's tricky in your sight lines, like what you see off the tee. Like there may be more fairway than you really see, so you got to really know it from that standpoint with experience. But I will say this about experience: there is like, if you look at the top players in this field, let's just say like on DraftKings from like 9,000 and up, or like maybe 25 to 1 and in. Nobody has like really consistent course history here.
Yeah.
It's all over the place, and which shows you've got to be on your game. It doesn't matter. Like it's not like the Augusta National where you always see kind of the same players. It changes up, and the reason is it's just that difficult of a course, and you've got to be on your game. I think form is way more of an indicator of who can win this week than your course history on this golf course.
All right, we're going to talk more about certain picks, aspects of TPC Sawgrass. We're going to go deep into it with our friend Joe Idone on the final segment tonight. We're also going to talk through some picks, some sleepers, maybe a couple of guys to avoid, all those other things about Sawgrass. But for the remaining portion of this segment, it's time for one of our favorite things to do, and that's to give you just a little nugget called Just the Tip. And today I am bringing it to you. DB's just the tip. And I overall, this is an easy concept and a tip, but I want to show you something. I want to show the viewer out there, the listener out there, that there is a tool that can make this so easy. And the tip is simply this: track your bets. Track. That's it. That's a simple tip. It is a simple tip that we all probably know. We probably all don't do a great job of it. You might have a spreadsheet. You might have a note in your phone, or you might have nothing, or you might be, a lot of times like we were for so long, you intend to track it and then you just never do it.
Yeah.
But we have found a new app, and some of you may have already discovered this, but I've not seen any app in the marketplace that does this easier than the Pickett app. And I want to show a few screenshots and some screen grabs and talk through some of the features, because you need to know that this is out there and it's free. The app is free. And in fact, it's better than free. They pay you to download it.
What?
Yeah. If you download,
so when you did it for me earlier, you were getting some money?
Yes.
All right.
So if you download the Pickett app, which is free in the App Store, and you use the referral code at sign up, TJ, for the Tour Junkies, if you put that in there, it's on the screen, they're going to pay you once you sign in and you link one of your sportsbook or fantasy accounts, once you do that, they're going to pay you either $3 or $100. So it does a random drawing, and it's going to either generate a $3 gift to you or a $100 gift to you to your PayPal or Venmo, and that's it. And then, like, when you're in the app, there are no paid additional features. You don't have to like buy anything else. It's literally a free app. They're going to give you some money on the front end. It may be $100 or it may just be $3. But what it does is you can link up your sports books, but also some fantasy sites. Like we're in Georgia, so we can't always place a legal sports bet traditionally in a sports book, but we can play Prize Picks. We can play Underdog in the props games. It will link with those and then track all of that and give you some more really valuable information. So you're looking at here on screen, you can see some of the examples of the sports books and the Underdog Prize Pick stuff that they can link. But also, we have a profile in there, Tour Junkies DB. This is my profile. You can follow handicappers. You can follow fellow friends and bettors through the app. You can tail their bets. You can see what they're betting on. You know what? If you're following a handicapper and you want to see, like, are they actually betting this? You can do it. So, like, we put out prize play picks or props picks for every round on the PGA Tour. And if we're not putting our own money behind those, why would you want to tail that, right? Yeah. So you can actually see that in the app. So let's go to the next screen. You should find us. You should follow us if you do sign up. So this is the calendar. I love this feature because it shows you your profit and loss for every day and month based on the linked sportsbooks accounts. You can see I've had a very nice January and February, specifically in the props market. Yeah. And you can see this for anybody. Literally anybody on the app that has a linked sportsbook, you can see this. If it's somebody you tail that says they're a pro, or just a friend of yours or a buddy, and you can make fun of them, whatever. You can look at your whole history and see ROI and all that, okay? Go to the next screen. We're going to blaze through this. You can click in specifically and say, oh, wow, DB is really good at prize picks. And you can click the sports book that I have linked and see my ROI over time, over a month, over this year, whatever. You can see even bet types where, okay, round robin. So that would be like flex plays or insured plays on prize picks or Underdog. You can see parlays where I kind of pick, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6-way plays on those props markets. And I go power play and it's all or nothing. So you can see what types of bets even those people that you're following and keep track of it for yourself. This is really valuable for yourself to look back at and go, wow, over the year, you know what I've really sucked at that I need to stop doing is, whatever is over-unders in NBA or whatever that may be. Let's go to the next screen. I'm telling you, dude, this is the coolest app. You can get so deep into this app and it's all free. It's insane. All right, so on these pages, this is their events page. So this is for tonight. You can look at any NBA game, any game, and you can click deep into these games and see where the sharp money's going, where the handle is, what the bet percentage is, what the most popular prop play is out of this particular NBA game. You can see who's hot, who's riding the hot streaks on the app right now. You can see bad beats, which is kind of funny. Go to the next screen. All right, you can click deep into these games. See, I clicked into the Boston Cleveland game tonight. You can see where to shop the best lines, where the best lines are currently, how it's moving. Anyway, it's an incredible app. The Pickett app is free, and it helps you track your bets and track the bets of others that you may be following. And if you download it, use promo code TJ to do that. You're going to get some money sent to you, and it's fantastic. All right, we got to take another break. We're going to come back, talk through some DFS plays and our buddy Joe Idone right here on the Better Sports Network.
Tour Junkies on Better Sports Network.
Washington Commander fans, it's time to rejoice. The day you've been waiting for seems like it's finally on the way. And you know what day I'm talking about. No, not the next time you have a parade down Constitution Avenue. That's still years away. But the day you get to say goodbye to the man who has owned that franchise since 1999. It's Daniel Snyder. You know it well because he's been the worst owner in sports in the 24 years he's owned that football team. That once proud franchise, the Washington Redskins, the Hogs, the championships, Doug Williams, Joe Gibbs. Now what you have left behind? Memories of Albert Hainsworth. How did that work out? Horrible free agent signings, not to mention the scandals. Just this past 18 months alone, The horrible reveal of the Commanders' team name when everybody knew who it was the day before. Oh, that Sean Taylor statue, that gimmick, that joke. How about the touchdown celebration of the mascot, the Tutty? That was horrible. You keep getting in your way, time and time again. The best thing you had for your fan base this offseason was hiring them an offensive coordinator. And now the later scandals, financial misconduct, all these things you got going on. Yet you want Roger Goodell in the NFL to look the other way while you negotiate your sale of the team on your terms. It don't work like that. Only person you really got on your side is Jerry Jones, and it's not going to be enough. So go ahead, Daniel Snyder, do the right thing. Sell the team and go on about your business. Don't worry about this no more. The fan base deserves better. You've done a lot to tear this situation down. It's just time to walk away. Don't try to negotiate your own terms. Do the right thing and give the Washington, D.C. natives, give the people inside the Capitol Beltway their team back. You can find more contents like this at Better Network on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
What's going on? We're back on the Tour Junkies Golf Show on Better Sports Network. DB, Pat Perry, talking about the Players Championship from Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. It's a big week. We've had a great show already. If you missed the last segment, you got to go back and watch it, okay? Talking about the Pickett app and all that it can do for you, and it's all free. It's unbelievable. This segment, we're talking DFS, which we don't, we always do our cash game, which, by the way, we finally got back on the winning side of things. Winning side of things in the cash game lineup for the Arnold Palmer. So now that puts us at 3-4. We're going to put together another cash lineup for the Players Championship this week. But before we do that, let's talk tournaments. Let's talk GPPs, DraftKings, GPPs. You got to have a couple of things. You got to have some sleepers.
Yeah.
Those guys that are going to be pretty low owned, give you a lot of leverage on the field. We need them like sub 5% maybe. You got to have one or two of those guys in your lineup that also have some pretty good upside, right? The floor is they go home on Friday and they miss the cut and you're pissed. But we want some upside. I would say at least, depending on where your sleeper is going to fall, which I'm going to give you two sleepers. Both are in the 6K range on DraftKings. Okay. So at least give me a top 20. Give me a top 20, top 25. I'm really happy if that's all you do. But at least make the cut too, right? And then also, you got to know the popular names to avoid. You can't play them all. You can't play all of them. You can't play everybody in the 9 and 10K range. You've got to plant your flag on a handful of players and just be okay that you may not have this player over here that you really love or this player over here that you really love. You gotta take some stance. And sometimes those guys that you don't play are also popular, and they're popular for a reason. But this is a stacked field. We can't play all the best players in the world. So Pat's going to give you a couple of what we like to call chalk bombs, okay? Chalky players that could blow up your lineup. So let's start. Let's bounce it back and forth.
Okay.
You give me a chalk bomb. I'll give you a sleeper. We'll go back and forth. Then we'll do our cash game lineup.
All right. Well, I'm going to start a little bit cheaper for my chalk bomb, okay? And so they can be from any range. Now, a lot of times you have your highest owned guys in that 9K and above range, like your John Rahms, your Rorys, those kind of players. But I'm seeing a guy. Now, it's early. But I'm seeing a guy with some pretty hefty ownership in the 7K range, DB, and that's at 7,500, Keegan Bradley, okay?
Oh, now, I love Keegan.
Look, I like Keegan too, but do we really want to put our faith in our lineups in a high-owned Keegan Bradley, who does have a good history here? I just got done saying earlier that history is not always a big indicator of how well somebody's going to do on this course. He actually has a pretty good history.
Oh, yeah,
so I'll give him that.
Really
it's shockingly good.
And he's playing well.
But let me tell you a couple things that worry me about him. One, his scrambling lately is not very good. Mm-hmm. And I think if you get in trouble off around the greens here, you're in trouble. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's also not putting very well. All right. He's almost 100th in the field in strokes gained putting. That concerns me a little bit. On top of that, just the ownership. Like if you get a Keegan Bradley at like 17 or 18% owned, because everybody might kind of gravitate towards him in the 7K range. If he does bomb, I would love to not be on him. I'd like to be playing a different guy right around him in that range. So I know it's scary, but that's what a chalk bomb is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to make Keegan Bradley my first chalk bomb.
There's a reason why they're chalky, right? So they're going to check a lot of boxes. Keegan does so. And we've been doing this 8 years. Generally, a chalky 7K player, especially in a field, in an event like the Players that has a lot of variance. And every year there is carnage. There is really chalky players that bomb. The textbook move is to grit your teeth and not play Keegan, if that's the case. Yeah. And especially with Keegan, because he tends to be a volatile player.
He's very volatile.
He can really drive you nuts.
Like last week, had a good first round, almost missed the cut.
Yeah. But then had a great Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, so I could kind of get down with that, although I hate it. Maybe I'll just bet him or play him in head-to-heads or bet him top 20. All right, speaking of horrible course history.
Okay.
Well, you said good course history, but you said you could kind of ignore it to some extent.
Yeah.
I'm going to ignore this guy's course history because I think he's played here 4 times. He's never made the cut. But he should. He should check the boxes here. He's kind of a grinder, right? You kind of want that.
Yeah.
Plays well in tough conditions, on tough golf courses. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Plays well in windy conditions, which this is going to be windy.
You're going to get some wind.
It's a windy. He's a scrambler, good around the greens.
Mm-hmm.
Loves Bermuda.
Okay.
He is Mr. Danny Willett.
Okay.
Danny Willett.
Now, I don't mind this.
$6,400 on DraftKings. Danny Willett, really good, like I said, really good win player. Coming off of 3 really good finishes. 18th at the Genesis. That's an elevated event. Riviera. Played the Honda, finished 29th. Played Arnold Palmer last week, finished 34th. Any of those you'd be happy with this week at the Stadium course. And he's gaining strokes with his irons, off the tee, approach. All that's looking great. I think Danny Willett is an interesting play. He's probably going to be 3%, 4% owned. $6,400 allows you to do a lot of good things on DraftKings with Danny Willett. So I'll go Danny Willett as my sleeper.
Okay.
First sleeper.
All right. Now, this one's could be iffy because I can't quite tell if I think he's going to be chalky or not.
Okay.
And he's a guy that I think is a good fit for this golf course. All right. If you're looking at stats and you're running your models, he's probably going to show up pretty well. But, one thing that concerns me sometimes when you get into an event like this, a big event, a lot of money on the line, you need your mentals, DB. You need your mentals all there together.
Yeah.
A guy that's played 5 events in a row, it makes me a little nervous. It makes me a little nervous, and that's Sung J M. Sung J M. So
that's a bold one.
A chalky Sung J M to me is one that you might want to fade. He might just be a little bit tired. He might just, I don't know.
He's so young, though.
But I think, when you look to it at his stats, they are pretty good across the board. He's really not doing anything terrible, but his form it's okay. His history here is okay. I mean, he's missed a cut. He's finished like in the 40s, I think. He did have a top 20 finish a couple years ago, but you want more than that out of a 9K guy. Right? You want a little more out of a guy like that.
It feels like this is recency bias because you're 46 years old and we just played 3 rounds of golf in 4 days and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, Sung Jae, I'd be okay with it, I guess. Final sleeper for me is a guy who, unlike Danny Willett, has really played this place very, very well. He's $6,800, and I love to play him. Johnny V, Vegas, gives you a ton of salary relief as well. At the Players, he's played here since 2011, 2, 4, 6, 8. This will be his 10th Players Championship. He has only 3 missed cuts, which is pretty good considering the variance here. He's got a 3rd place finish in 2019, a 7th place finish in 2012. The ball striking is always solid. It all comes down to the flat stick and the putter and around the green play for Johnny V. But again, 3-4% owned, 6,800, great ball striker. I think we can trust Johnny V.
Okay.
All right. So that's a couple fades, couple sleepers. Let's talk cash games. Let's build a quick cash game lineup here on DraftKings. Pull it up and I'll tell you what. I will start, Pat. Let's go balanced. We're going to go balanced again, probably. I would imagine because we got to get 6 through the cut here. So roll this lineup out in 50-50s and double ups on DraftKings. Don't put this in a tournament lineup. We're not building this to win a GPP. I'm going to start off 9,400, Justin Thomas.
Okay. Don't mind it. Man, what happens when I put Max Homa in there?
Let's do it.
I think we put Max Homa in there. We go up a little bit there. He's at 9,900. That's a good start. JT and Max, and then you still got 7,600 left to deal with.
Okay. What if? Well, I don't know. I don't know how low I want to take us here. Let me just. Let me just pump the brakes. I was about to take us down there. Okay. $7,400. I love this guy. I think we both love him. Keith Mitchell playing really well right now. Checks a lot of boxes for Sawgrass. I walked the course with him last year. Just a great dude. Bermuda's his game. Long off the tee. Good iron player. Let's go Keith Mitchell.
Yeah, I had a feeling you might go there. All right, I'm going to go up a little bit to Jason Day at 8,000.
Yeah.
Day has just been playing absolutely fantastic. He's won on this golf course before. Still leaves us a good amount of room in here. We don't even have to dip into the low 7K range yet. So there you go.
Should we play Keegan in cash?
I don't mind Keegan in cash.
I like Keegan in cash.
I don't mind Keegan in cash.
All right, let's play
We
him
did
in
that
cash.
last week, and it paid off.
7,500. That leaves us 7,800 left for our final player. Who we got?
Well, I think, we're going to need some consistency up here. We need a guy. We need a Prince. We need a Prince, DB. We need Siwoo Kim.
Our sweet South Korean Prince.
I think we need Siwoo.
Siwoo.
Yeah.
I love it.
He can be a little risky at times, but he's made 10 of 11 cuts on tour this year. Loves this place. I like Siwoo.
Oh, yeah. He's a risky biscuit. Let me see it again. Let me see what you got here. All right. So, like we said, cash game lineup, we're 3 for 4 in cash in these. We got to get that well over like a 65% cash rate. We're going to get there. Okay. It's all about getting 6 guys through the cut. That's it. We're not worried about ownership. Okay. Put this in a large 50-50 or double up on DK. To give it to you again, Max Homa, 9,900, Justin Thomas, Jason Day, Keegan Bradley, Siwoo Kim, and Keith Mitchell. You got Siwoo, who's won here before, JT, who's won here before, Jason Day, who's won here before, Keegan with a great record here, Homa, hot as fire right now. Mitchell's played okay here. This is a lock. This is locked up.
This is a good one.
Locked up cash lineup. All right, when we come back, we're going to have our friend Joe Idone, the host of the Preferred Lines podcast, join us to talk about the players even further. So stay right here. It's the Tour Junkies Golf Show on the Better Sports Network.
Tour Junkies on Better Sports Network.
Let's talk a little NBA because I found it interesting yesterday with those that are now all of a sudden going to be critical of Nikola Jokic and what he's accomplishing this year for the Denver Nuggets. As Denver is the top seed in the Western Conference right now, they've won 44 games so far during the course of the NBA regular season, and Nikola Jokic is well on his way to being a three straight time NBA MVP in the regular season. He's been remarkable. He's averaging a triple-double, nearly 25 points per game, over 11 rebounds a game, and 10 assists per game. His remarkable accomplishments have really poo-pooed or knocked down the idea of voter fatigue, which was a huge part of the conversation coming into the NBA regular season, thinking that there have only been 3 men, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, that have ever won 3 consecutive NBA regular seasons. Mind you, you could never give that to Nikola Jokic because think about the historical ramifications it would be in the NBA. LeBron's never done it. Michael's never done it. How could Nikola Jokic do it? And then you get this, and it's the case of the hot take world that we're in, or I need something to say, or let's think of a different angle to approach a topic. But the idea that Nikola Jokic is a stat padder is complete and utter nonsense. I mean, you've had one person after another come out saying Nikola Jokic is not looking at his stat line during the course of an NBA game. He's not focused in on whether or not where his rebounds are, where his assists are in any particular game. He's having an historic season. He's shooting nearly 64% from the floor. He is being economical in the way that he's going about his business offensively. He's distributing the basketball. He's also been a willing rebounder as well. Why be critical of something that we're watching, which is historic? We're seeing him do stuff that no other NBA player has ever been able to go out there and accomplish. So as we go and look at Jokic, and he is going to be the MVP. It's not going to be Joel Embiid with the Philadelphia 76ers. It's not going to be anybody else that you want to throw out there. As we watch the brilliance of the Denver Nuggets, and everyone looks at the Western Conference and wants to look at teams like the Phoenix Suns if Kevin Durant is healthy, or the Los Angeles Clippers, or the Sacramento Kings, or, let's be honest, the very, very immature Memphis Grizzlies, and everybody wants to pick anybody else but the Denver Nuggets to come out of that West and get to themselves to the NBA Finals, even throwing the Golden State Warriors into the equation as the defending NBA champs. Well, I think we have to have a lot of respect for what Denver's been able to do this regular season and a healthy respect of going into the postseason. And I also think we have to have a respect of what Nikola Jokic is accomplishing as well, and not be critical just for the sake of being critical. That, to me, is utterly nonsense. For more content like this, check out Better Network at TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and also on YouTube.
Helping you have more fun with golf. Tour Junkies on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Tour Junkies Golf Show on the Better Sports Network. DB, Pat Perry. Had a great show so far. It's about to get even better. Before I move on to our guests, I do have to remind the people, we had Lisa Ann on our betting preview.
Yes.
Who you guys know from the Better Sports Network. She's amazing. We did a brand new segment with her. You got to be sure and check that out on our YouTube channel. But, this guy is one of our best friends in the industry. Such a good dude. Really good at handicapping golf. He's also a contributor at Tour Junkies and in our Discord in the Nut Hut. He's the host of the Preferred Lines podcast at Tour Picks on Twitter. Mr. Joe Idone, what up, buddy? Thanks for coming on.
What's going on, dude? Excited to be here. Good to see both of you guys together. I'm not quite as easy on the eyes as old Lisa Ann, but hopefully your viewers will appreciate this next segment. Excited to talk about Players Championship.
Yeah, buddy. You can catch a lot of Joe's content, obviously, on Twitter. Like I mentioned, he's got the Preferred Lines podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as his YouTube channel. And yeah, like I mentioned, Joe contributes in our Discord server, specifically does some some placement, finish position kind of bets, head-to-head matchups. We're going to talk about some of that here in just a second. But before that, Joe, anything else you want to tell the folks or plug or something you got going on or whatever?
No, absolutely. You were mentioning the Preferred Line show, which airs Mondays at 8:30 p.m. live on YouTube and Twitter. So feel free to stream it there at Tour Picks on Twitter. You mentioned the Nut Hut, which is I found extremely exciting to do for this season. So got some positional props in there, the matchup plays. I think I calculated today, DB, 29-14 on the season in the head-to-head matchups. So scorching hot in there. It's been fun to just, be a part of the Tour Junkies community and all the great people that you have there in the premium chat. So have really enjoyed it thus far.
29-14 in golf head-to-head matchups.
Yeah, pretty good.
Really freaking hard to do.
It's fantastic.
Joe's off to a hot start,
Joe.
and we're going to get to some of his head-to-head picks maybe and some strategy talk in a second. What are some storylines, though, Joe? Like, forget, I don't know, DFS betting, whatever, but just some storylines you're looking at or you're thinking about or excited about when it comes to another year here at the Players Championship?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the chaos, right? Every year, like this is not if I had a one and done pick, right, and I'm saving my top guys, I'm not using them at the Players. I think 16 of the top 32 2 years ago missed the cut, and that wasn't even the crazy weather year that we saw last year.
Yeah.
The place just like breeds volatility and chaos throughout. The top players miss the cut annually, so it's a very tough tournament from like a prognosticating and a prediction standpoint in terms of handicapping. I mean, there's so many great other storylines outside of the Players Championship going on around golf between the scheduling stuff. Obviously, Kurt Kitayama slaying dragons yesterday was sort of phenomenal to see as well. And then all the other stuff with the competition between multiple tours and LIV just kicking off their season as well. It's interesting because this week, I think one of the storylines would be the top three from last year's Player Championship are no longer in the field this week. So a lot of stuff going on, but always excited to see this golf course. You guys going to be on site, I would assume, a little bit?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, Joe, you mentioned the schedule changes for the PGA Tour. Give us some of your quick thoughts on the schedule and what we may see. Or, DB put me on the spot earlier, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Maybe a few things that you might expect to be hearing from Jay Monahan tomorrow when he gives his press conference.
Yeah, so I just want to feel the schedule is somewhat solidified, right, Pat? Because we've seen so much rumors and what is changing constantly, and it would be nice to just kind of get something a little bit more definite. From what I know and what I can glean from it, it's going to be like this schedule of 2 weeks on with the elevated events and 3 weeks off. I actually kind of like that. So I'm coming around to the idea. I don't love where some of the elevated stuff is going to potentially be moving toward no cut events. I don't think anybody thinks that that's a necessarily a good move, but I like the fact that you can have these 3 events with like I've been like kind of calling it like the varsity and the JV tours. So like if the JV guys get a couple of chances to in 3 consecutive weeks to sort of work their way into the varsity lineup and crack that like ultimate roster, I think that also creates compelling storylines. And like we see it, like we enjoy this stuff like at the Honda when we have the Eric Coles and the Ryan Gerards and Chris Kirk. So these stories are what has always makes golf so compelling and fantastic.
I should have mentioned too that Joe is my partner in crime and hosts the live betting previews on the Tour Junkies YouTube and podcast channel. Me and Joe both had a chance to go to the live event in Miami last year. Joe, did you see what Cam Smith said in his interview about his plans this week?
How good would it be if he shows up and like I want to maybe like some sort of disguise too, like I think back to my boy Baker Mayfield when he went to Vegas and like had some sort of disguise on. It would be great. It's a shame, man. I wore my sort of penguin flamingo shirt here in honor of my boy Cam. It's tough to see him not being able to defend his title this week, which we would all love to see Cam, but he lives right there, right? So maybe he'll pop over.
Okay, what would be funnier if you were Cam and you were going to do one of these? Okay, you show up to the Players Championship and you either like wear the disguise, but you don't really wear the disguise, and you wear like the Groucho Marx glasses with the nose and the mustache, but you got the mullet flowing. You roll up in your original penguin, attire, maybe even the same outfit you wore the Sunday that you won the Players Championship a year ago. So that's like one option. Or do you kind of embrace like the dark side of live and you come in like a black, like this black robe with like a hood, but maybe like a cutout in the back to let the mullet come out, and you like kind of walk around like you're Darth Vader around Ponte Vedra?
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both would be cool, right? Getting in, I think he might need a disguise to get in. I think security will be on high alert.
No way. You think think that through like all the way. Like what a PR disaster. If Cam Smith buys a ticket and tries to go in the gate and they come and turn his ass around.
The boy needs a ticket this year?
I mean, I don't think they're giving him credentials.
Yeah, I'm saying if he comes in, if he goes to the Publix and buys a regular ass ticket and comes back in and just wants to watch golf and walk around, and they turned him around and said, you can't even step on site and watch this thing. Think about how inflammatory that would be and how bad that would look on the PGA Tour.
It would look terrible. You're right. I would love to see him maybe like disguise the initial appearance, but then just kind of post up like next to 18 green and like rip off like a trench coat or something. And he's got his gear on. Let the mullet flow and kind of in the wind there and just try to eat up a little bit of airtime. And just his presence over that 18th green or maybe 17 as just the defending champion who wasn't able to even defend his crown would be a sight on the TVs.
Somebody should have hired him to be their caddy. That would have been even better.
I mean, when you start looking at some of the and listen, like we talked about it on the live broadcast or the live show that you and I did about how we love the PGA Tour, right? But it really does look ridiculous that all of their pumping of this year's event is all pointing to Justin Thomas, like as your defending champion and your who won 2 years ago. He didn't win last year; he won 2 years ago, and like they're almost like they're truly making it seem as if 2022 just didn't happen. Like we Men in Black memory erased you, and you've forgotten about 2022, and now we're just Justin Thomas or bust. Like.
Yeah, this has kind of been their MO with I think a lot of the guys. They're just kind of hoping that we forget them. But even in the Justin Thomas year, it was Westwood and Bryson, another 2 live guys that were in that final grouping. So these guys, even Poulter's had sometimes like they've all had their sort of runs here. It would just like we kind of when we did the show, we talked a little bit about some of the irony of some of the stuff the PGA Tour is doing with the scheduling, with the no cut. It seems like they're kind of taking and moving in that direction. Now a $25 million purse, fellas, this week is like outrageous to even consider the highest in PGA Tour history. So these guys are playing for a lot of cash. They're moving towards, potentially elevated events and no cuts like we used to see with the WGCs. So, man, this stuff just continues to change and evolve, and luckily we're here for all the drama.
Yeah. All right, talk to us about we talked about your head-to-head prowess. So while you're here in the hot streak, Joe, let's tell the people maybe a couple of head-to-head bets you like already for the tournament, and then also any sort of like tips, best practices, anything you'd be willing to share.
Yeah, so for head-to-heads, a lot of times what I do, and I'm not going to lie, a lot of it's like eyeball test stuff for me, but the majority of where it starts is assessing where guys are at in an outright market. So what are their odds to win? What are their odds to top 20, top 40 to make the cut? And then applying those a little bit to the head-to-head matchups. The other part about it, which we do, in some of the Chalk Bomb email stuff, is looking at head-to-head matchup prices versus DraftKings pricing and trying to see some discrepancies there and trying to find holes in the market. Now, DB, a lot of these sharper books will move these lines quickly. Like as soon as they open up, they get pounded because guys are sort of ready to pounce. I had a couple that I like today. I took Colin Morikawa in a bounce back spot against Tony Finau. That's an even money matchup right now. I think Morikawa sets up better than here. Data Golf had Finau as one of the worst sort of strokes gained and sort of the course history expectation that we always look at. I like the fact that the rough has gone basically this year, from what I've heard, from 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch rough. Morikawa being able to hit fairways. I think this is a good spot for him. Now, his game has been a little bit all over the place, but in comparison to like someone like Justin Thomas, right? Like Thomas is backdoored a couple top 10s and top 20s. Morikawa's kind of done the opposite, and we aren't really giving him that same credit for it. So we're looking at Justin Thomas and we're saying, okay, he finished 20th at Riv, he finished 4th at Phoenix. Well, Morikawa finished 3rd at the tournament. He has these good finishes, but it feels like he's having this Sunday collapse where we aren't giving him that same amount of credit for it. My favorite underdog matchup, and I think this line might move, is Spieth over Victor Hovland. Spieth is plus 125 currently. I noticed something with Jordan, and I might bet him this week. But before Riv at Phoenix, he had his best strokes gain approach numbers with his irons of his entire career. I noticed something that week that a lot of his success is predicated with a great iron week sort of leading up to right before he gets these victories. I think when the confidence is there with the irons, it allows him to sort of mentally focus on some of the other things like chipping in, and maybe he can make some 10-foot putts. But that's my favorite underdog that I like this week.
Love it. All right. The other thing you're notorious for, like us, you love the long shots. So hit me with a couple of bombs. Joe Idone bombs.
I give you one good one. It's Svensson. My guy, dude.
Dude, you are all over Svensson right now. You met the guy. What's he do? He bought you a beer, and now you're just.
He didn't buy me a beer. I was able to meet him, but I liked it before that. I had him at the RSM. I think short golf courses, and I've kind of had this sticking narrative, and I don't think TPC Sawgrass is long by any means. It's just a hair over 7,200 yards, and they move those tees up a little bit too, so sometimes it plays under that. That's his wheelhouse. He played good at the Honda again. He actually played really good at Riviera. He won the RSM Classic. You put him on that type of golf course, and I think that's where he tends to succeed. I like the Bermuda grass aspect of it as well. This sort of region is kind of where he's had his wins, not only on the PGA Tour, but coming up through the Korn Ferry Tour as well. 300-1 this week is just a huge number that was out there this morning. So that right now, as it stands, is the one sort of deep bomb that I got. And I'll probably hedge that a little bit with like a top 20, top 40 as well.
So when you met Svensson, what kind of, how much time did you get to spend with him? Anything else stand out from that conversation?
Yeah, so he's not, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but I don't know if he's like a thinking man's golfer type player. So my buddy was there, who I was with, and was like, so at the RSM, he's asking him questions. We spent 10 minutes talking to him, and he was like, what's your favorite course, like the Seaside or the Plantation? And he like looked baffled for a minute, and he was like, the two course rotation. He's like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. So with the place where he got his win, he didn't even really remember that there were two courses in play. But yeah, it was nice.
Well, because he just blacked out. Like he literally blacked out and went
maybe
bananas.
he did. I told him I had 140-1 ticket on him, and he kind of didn't really understand that either. So I don't think he's a gambler, but he's a good player, and he's a flusher, baby. He hits it pure.
Yeah, he can.
Well, Joe, we appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Check out Joe on the Preferred Lines podcast at Tour Picks on Twitter. And obviously for the live preview events, he'll be with us. He's also can be found in our Discord server. But anyway, great stuff, Joe. We appreciate you coming on the Tour Junkies show. We'll be back next week. It's going to slow down for a little bit until we hit the Masters. So stay with us. The Tour Junkies Golf Show on the Better Sports Network. Let's have a great week at the Players. See you.